Hey everybody, so in the previous video I talked about my start into adventure motorcycling on the Trans-America Trail with my 530 KTM, and here I want to talk a little bit about the next big trip. So this is my BDR Loop I just completed here in the summer and fall of 2020. I did it in two sections. So I did San Francisco to Salt Lake City north through California, Oregon, Washington, and Idaho in July, and I did south, so Utah, Arizona, Southern California in September and October. And in there I switched bikes. So my 530 needed a top end, piston rings at least. It was using oil, had a fork seal that was leaking, and I didn't really have a good way to do that work in Salt Lake City, so I figured, maybe it's time to try out a new bike. So I got a brand new 21 KTM 500 EXCF in Salt Lake City, which I used to do the second half of the trip. And of course, along with that comes all the sort of bolt-on stuff I had to add. So I'll show some pictures of that in a minute. As far as the tracks go, most of it is from ridebdr.com. So I learned about these guys at the end of 2019 after the, I think at the Adventure Rally in November. They had debuted, I believe, the Southern California Discovery Route at that time. And if you look at their tracks, they have Southern California now, Washington, Idaho, Utah, Arizona, Colorado, and New Mexico. So I thought, and there's a separate group that does the Oregon BDR. So I thought, wow, if I could get some tracks from Northern California, that would be a really cool loop to do. So I found some tracks from GPS Kevin. He calls this the Great Pacific Divide Route. So this gets you like Northern California and the Oregon BDR in digital track form. So I used those to stitch together the loop. And Ride BDR also publishes like connecting routes, which I was able to use between the various routes in some cases. The northern connector, though, I was not able to go through Canada. That goes through Canada, and this year it was shut down for the pandemic. And Idaho to Utah, I didn't really want to, like southern Utah, and I think Nevada gets pretty flat. So I thought I would divert on the Trans-America Trail and come down through Craters of the Moon to Salt Lake City. So that's what I did in that case. So that probably saved me like a day or so riding on the south part of Idaho and the Idaho-Utah connector. So yeah, what equipment did I use? So I used the same 530 EXC-R I had taken on the Trans-America Trail. Same bag, same setup. Bike was still pretty clean. I only did 2,000 miles on that trip. I had the suspension done. I changed the oil. Of course, like I broke down on that trip. I had to replace the counter shaft, so I had the engine apart. But generally, like, bike still looked pretty good, as you can see here, and ran really well. So I started that trip in like the Tahoe area and rode through Northern California. So I had a great time doing that. And yeah, it was about a month from San Francisco to Salt Lake City. So that was the first leg. I had a buddy come with me for the last part of Idaho, but generally I was by myself. So having the light bike with the backpack on the back, I was carrying very little gear. Mostly in the side bags I had tools and tubes. I didn't really have any sticky recovery situations, really. Like, it was really easy to handle the bike. Like, I had ridden enough of this sort of terrain by now that I was getting pretty decent at it. The challenging sections, there were a couple, but like generally speaking, like pretty manageable routes. Like the tracks were pretty easy to follow. The trails are pretty well established on the BDR, so I didn't have any problems there. So then when I came back, so I rode basically most of July to get to Salt Lake City, and then I took a break because it was pretty hot in the southern part. Arizona and Southern California were very hot still, especially like Death Valley. Death Valley hit like I think 120 some degrees this summer. So I waited until late September to restart the trip, and I got the new bike, and so this is what it looked like, just bone stock, brand new. I had had them put a better spring on the back, and I had gotten a D606 tires, which I liked, but I needed handguards, a bigger tank, a better seat. I needed to attach all my luggage and stuff. So it ended up looking like this when I was done. So you see I have the handguards, good mirrors, my same bags I had used on the other bike, seat, skid plate, and I took camping gear this time, so I used a different tail bag. In hindsight, I camped twice, so I should have just taken the backpack again and went really light. This itself wasn't that much more gear. It's bulk gear, but like the sleeping bag and the tent and the sleeping pad are pretty lightweight, and that's really like the extra gear I was carrying. But really, like, I enjoy the motorcycling more than I do the camping part of it on these types of trips. So yeah, I did the southern route, Utah, Arizona, California. Again, my buddy Dave came with me on some of the Utah route, and I just had a great time. It took about a month to get from Salt Lake City back to San Francisco, a little less. In terms of logistics with motels, I would basically, when I would check into a hotel in the afternoon, I was only carrying like a couple changes of clothes, so I basically like do my laundry, hand wash a couple things, set those out to dry, and then I would start prep for the next day. So I would do some research about where I plan to end up the next day, what town I was going to end up in. I would book a hotel room, usually the day before, and that was not typically a problem. Like, I can't remember getting turned away or a place being full. And then the next morning, I'd basically get up, have some coffee, have some breakfast, try to get on the trail early if it was going to be hot, and then get to the next place before it got too hot in the afternoon. And that really worked well. Like, I didn't have any super long days where I was like riding at night or anything. I'm doing 100 to 150 miles a day, so it's all very manageable. I wanted to just take my time and try some of the expert sections and have time to do that, and take good pictures and take breaks when I needed to, not be in a rush. I think people, they're trying to figure out how to do, because they don't have a lot of vacation, maybe they have family they want to spend time with. They're trying to figure out how to cram a week of riding into like 3 days, into like a long weekend. And you can do it. I just think it's not fun. It's not fun if you're just exhausted and you're always pushing to get to the next place. The way I enjoy it, and parameters are different. Like, I'm doing it the expensive way. I'm staying in motels, and I'm taking a long time to do it. 100, 150 miles a day is not a lot of riding. Although some days I'd push up to almost 200 in some technical stuff. So it could be some long days in there. But I don't really want to be on the bike much more than 6 or 7 hours. 8 hours is kind of pushing it. You just get tired, and that's when the end of the day is when you're gonna have problems. You're gonna drive stupid or drive tired. So yeah, I think going light is by far the best way to go. Like, the really challenging sand in like Southern California in Section 1, I had no real problems in. You just sort of you stand on the pegs, get the bike over 25 miles an hour, and the little bike just handles that stuff really well. The expert section I did at the end of the California BDR, you go up and over a couple mountains and stuff. that had some steep sections, but you know, I had ridden almost 6,000 miles off road on this trip by the time I got there. So um, I felt confident on the bike and I rode pretty well. Um, I think I had originally intended to do the trip south first, so I would have done California BDR first if I had started in April. I'm kind of glad it didn't work out that way because Northern California and Oregon and Washington are easier, and I was glad I had a little bit more riding experience, and also kind of glad I had the new bike. The new bike was just it was good at altitude everywhere that I took that thing. It just ran really well and had like a lot of had good power everywhere. Like the only places I stalled the bike were actually on the steep downhills where I would hit the rear brake so much at an idle I would stall the engine because basically you're trying to stop yourself from going downhill too fast. Um, so I would kill the engine with a brake actually, but going uphill I can't remember stalling it. Like it just you wind it up and you just go, and the bike will climb almost anything. So in terms of equipment and luggage and everything, yeah, I probably wouldn't take the camping gear. I wouldn't carry the camping gear for a month to camp twice. Um, I would just take the same backpack with my stuff. Tools and stuff, I think I had about the right amount of tools. I didn't have any problems except I had one flat in Idaho. I had a pinch flat in Idaho on the front. But really, for the whole trip on a KTM, people are always knocking the KTMs. They're like, oh, they're not reliable. But man, I did 8,000 miles and I had a flat tire. So, I mean, I can't really complain at all. Like, the bike worked great. Um, so yeah, I'll put a link in the description to this video of some of the materials here. The tracks, you can get those from ridebdr.com or GPS Kevin. GPS Kevin sells the tracks, so you have to buy them. I'm not going to give away stuff that he has put together. But if you have any other questions about how to do this or whatever, I'll answer any questions in the comments that anybody has. So hope everybody is having a good time and you get out there and do some more riding. I took great pictures everywhere, and I'll tell you guys the same thing I tell everybody else. Like, the pictures do it no justice. It is so much better to be out there in it, experiencing it. It is, we're truly blessed in the United States. You can go see all these things. You don't need a passport. There's good freeway infrastructure, so you can get within. You can get close to a lot of these things just off of normal roads. But like when you're able to go out there and experience it off the dirt roads, it's really amazing. So I encourage you to go do some of that.